In Bangladesh's great bamboo forests, known in the local dialect as bush mohal, several dozen machete-wielding men are hard at work. They form the first link in a human chain that is vital to the country's economy, as it allows the poor man's timber to make its way from here to the capital, Dhaka. The journey begins here and wends its way through a 500-kilometer network of rivers and canals. Unfortunately, the majority of bush mohals happen to be situated on the country's border with India. The region is unstable and closely monitored by the military owing to political tensions. The three principal reserves are in the north, east, and south. This one, Juri Forest, is in the Sylhet region, which straddles the Indian state of Tripura. The route here is an obstacle course of hills, streams, and winding trails. It takes at least 2 hours to reach the forest, which teems with tiger mosquitoes.
The first thing we do is choose a leader who has his own team of cutters. These bosses are known as soldar. Each soldar is in charge of 20 to 50 workers. There are 8 to 10 teams working in the forest.
The cutting is not done haphazardly. Armed with their hooked machetes called dao, these cutters know instantly which stems to cut. The canes must be fully grown. Young shoots are planted amidst the older plants to protect them and nurture their growth. The workers, known as labars, start work at the crack of dawn, coming here from the surrounding villages. There's no time to waste as they need to chop down as much bamboo as they can in order to maximize their income. The most experienced cutters can cut down around 100 canes in a day, which then have to be taken to the banks of the nearest river.
Their work consists of cutting the bamboo canes and tying them into small bundles known as bandils, and then transporting them to the meeting point. From there, another team will move them on to Juri, a small town by the river. They cut around 5,000 to 7,000 canes a day.
In a few days, the sawdars will send the week's harvest on its way along the web of waterways that crisscross the region. These canals were specially built and allow the bamboo to be sent in bundles of 10 to a storage area known as Checkpoint 1. Everything chopped this week is here, and the cutters make the most of the merest inch of water while they wait for the dam downstream to be opened. This only happens once a week, for just a few hours. Every team is then mobilized, as the narrow bottleneck can only accommodate one bundle at a time. The short time slot is not long enough for all the bamboo to be sent, and any latecomers will have to wait until the dam is next opened. The bamboo generally makes its way along the canal through the forest. But the water released by the dam is very fast flowing, and there is always a worry that the bundles will break up against the banks. The journey has only just begun, but is already littered with hazards. Further downstream, at the edge of Juri Forest, the first rafts have started arriving. A second team takes over, sending them to the first checkpoint. Now the rhythm slows down, and the journey marries its pace to that of the water.
The majority of what we produce is sent to the capital, Dakha, as that's where most of our buyers are. At present, we're importing a lot of bamboo from India because we're not producing enough ourselves. Since the paper factories have shut down, the young bamboo shoots are not being replanted, so nobody's taken over. Therefore, we've had to turn to imports from India to satisfy local demand. India has quite a lot of forest, which isn't the case in our country. There are only a few, and those are difficult to get to.
Bangladesh is wedged between its giant neighbor India and Burma, with whom its relationship is very strained. The capital, Dhaka, sits just below the confluence of the Ganges and Brahmaputra rivers. Further downstream, the river Meghna comes down from the forests of the northeast. Juri Forest lies along the Indian border. The bamboo cut here makes its way along the little waterways towards the first checkpoint. All the bamboo cut down in this region is stored here. As the bamboo is wending its way to the first checkpoint, an open-air market is in full swing. Two different worlds meet here: the forest and the city. Mohaldars, rich bush mohal owners, and Baperis, equally powerful businessmen from Dhaka, who come here to buy thousands of bamboo canes, which they will then sell on in the markets. Negotiations are discreet but quick.
The price varies depending on the quality of the bamboo. If it's strong, the price will follow accordingly. But if the quality is poor, it will be cheaper. That's how the price varies, depending on the size, category, and diameter of the bamboo. I am a mohaldar. I own a concession along with my 3 partners. It would be impossible for someone to go into business alone, so we join forces. In my case, I own 1 plot, and I share it with 3 other mohaldars on a 30-30-30, 10% split. This reduces the fees and taxes.
The price of the product will be decided here, dictated by the quality of the harvest, the difficulties in finding an effective workforce, and of course, transport conditions, which are affected by the vagaries of the weather. The location of the first checkpoint has been carefully selected. Its calm waters are ideal for handling the poor man's timber, and the widening of the riverbed means the site can accommodate many canes. The water is gradually covered with bamboo. It arrives here from all over the region and will continue its journey from here towards the second checkpoint. Here, everything is done with whatever comes to hand, and the strips used to lash the bundles together are cut from the most damaged canes. Bamboo has a number of amazing properties, and when it is green, it is very pliable. The canes are measured in cubits, an ancient Egyptian measurement which was kept after the end of the British colonization. It represents approximately the 50 centimeters between the elbow and the middle fingertip. A labar wanders from bandil to bandil, gauging the length of the canes. The quality and the size determine the price. They are usually 12 to 14 cubits long, with the longest reaching 20. Before the bamboo's journey can continue, the bundles are completely disassembled. Some of the ties have come loose during the turbulent journey along the canals. The job now is to resort the 50 cane rafts and classify them according to length and category, which will be particularly important in the manufacture of furniture, among other things.
The cutters cut down the bamboo up in the mountains and make up the bundles in situ. When they're finished, they're sent on to the first checkpoint. That is where the negotiations take place. Before the canes are sent towards the lake to be made into big rafts.
The labars still have a few days to finish the bundles before a new batch arrives. During the rainy season, bamboo arrives from all over the north of the country. Activity reaches fever pitch, and one has to expect some late deliveries. These men have their work cut out and think nothing of working extra hours. When they've finished, their cargo will be handed over to another team, who will take charge of conveying it to the second checkpoint. Usually, the bundles are made up of around 50 canes. But at this time of year, the rivers are swollen by the rains, and the bundles can consist of up to 80 canes, depending on the kind of bamboo. Any more than that, and there's a risk that they could catch on the bottom of the river. The bush mohal are one of Bangladesh's main resources. They're state-run and monitored by a forest warden who regulates harvesting to ensure that they are properly maintained. While the lion's share of the benefits goes to the moldahars and baperis, a surprising number of families subsist on the spoils of peripheral trades. Bamboo is like a gift from heaven to this country, which lives in the shadow of its mighty Indian neighbor. Negotiations have come to an end. Now the merchants select their lots alongside their labars. The price of bamboo has increased five-fold in the last decade, making it harder to make big profits.
This concession is co-owned by 4 mokhaldars. Bangladeshi bamboo traders are known as baperis, and the baperis are here to negotiate with 4 of the region's mokhaldars. When we sell our bamboo, we bring all our stock together so we can offer the Baperis one large shipment. It looks like an awful lot of stock, but it really isn't. All of this wood will be sold in a matter of hours. In order to identify each buyer, each bundle is marked with a very distinctive color, red or blue or white. We also use symbols, like a cross or a circle. That's the way we know whose bamboo is whose.
From the riverbank, the bamboo's new owners call out instructions to the men to collect their chosen bundles. Using a long pole, the labars gather the bundles according to the symbols and color markings. Gradually, the bamboo bundles become trucks, and the river, previously a stockyard, now resembles a floating railway station. The water level is at its highest. The monsoon, which lasted from June to October, has swollen the rivers, and navigation will be possible everywhere. Without a moment's hesitation, the Baperis have used the opportunity to stock up. Bangladesh is used to flooding. Most of the country is barely 12 meters above sea level, and about 10% is below it. According to experts, a mere 1 meter rise in the sea level would cause 50% of the land to be submerged, putting millions of lives in danger. But the Baperis have more pressing concerns. Their operations are stagnant, partly because of the rising cost of producing the poor man's timber.
I pay the Mohaldas 42 takas per cane, plus a 10 taka fee. We're selling it on for almost the same amount. It isn't as profitable as it was. Business is in decline.
The journey continues as 20-odd caravans float down the river in single file. The first wagon leads the way and sets the pace. The convoy's pace matches that of the currents. The drivers must be able to anticipate any maneuvers well in advance, as there's no way of slowing down, let alone stopping. Vigilance is vital. The river is littered with hazards. Children swimming, motorboats and sandbanks can all bring the convoy to a standstill. The men entrusted with piloting the convoy are hand-picked from among the elite. The stakes could barely be higher. A group of children board the raft. This floating island is a perfect playground for them. For their parents, it represents something far more important. The men bring news of loved ones living upriver, and parcels are handed over, and news of current affairs is passed on. The bamboo caravan does not only have a role to play in the nation's economy, it is also an important means of communication for an area which has little access to modern media. Telephones are still little more than a rumor, and the internet is just starting to make a timid appearance. Having made their way this far in raft form, they will now be towed downstream by boat. At the Hakaluki Hao meeting point, there's a team specifically tasked with ensuring the craft's waterworthiness. Nothing is left to chance. The further downstream they go, the more canes there are, and their value is the focus of everyone's attention. The final leg of the journey is also the longest. The bamboo has another 350 kilometers to travel. The next stage takes them from Hakaluki Hao, the second checkpoint, to its final destination, Baidar Bazar, a small town just a few kilometers from the capital, Dhaka. If the weather holds up, the journey should only take a fortnight. Even though a large proportion of Bengal province is flooded, not everyone is lucky enough to own a boat. In fact, this is a luxury, as the country has little forestation and wood is hard to come by. It has to be imported and is often of poor quality. Maintenance is continual, as the boat's hulls suffer a great deal of damage in transit. Traveling along the waterways is no picnic, and towing dozens of tons of bamboo along the river is a trial for the vessels. If bamboo is referred to as poor man's timber, the natural fiber of jute could justify being known as golden fiber, even though it is cheap. Jute has a wealth of advantages for this country. It requires little fertilizer, can survive on flooded land and at low altitude. These qualities have made jute another significant resource for Bangladesh. Many minor businesses have sprung from the growing of jute, which is done entirely by hand, from harvesting to its final state. Jute fiber is also environmentally friendly, being totally biodegradable and recyclable. In just a few years, Bangladesh has learned how to make the most profitable use of this godsend, and the country is now one of the world's leading exporters of jute. Jute fiber is very versatile, and in these revolutionary eco-industrial times has quickly surpassed hemp and flax as the principal material used in the manufacture of bags, textiles and upholstery. It is also used as a substitute for wood in papermaking. In jute and bamboo, Bangladesh has two very versatile natural resources which give it a strong position in a market where sustainable development is increasingly important. This country of 152 million inhabitants, the 8th most populous nation in the world, has its future in the development of technical markets. Its challenging climatic and environmental situation could become an asset, a spinning wheel of fortune. The constant presence of water is a vital part of the natural processing of the jute fiber. The plants are submerged in order to make the stalks swell. Once engorged with water, the fiber comes loose and can easily be harvested. Such work requires a large workforce and so creates jobs. At checkpoint 2, Hakaluki Haor, what looks like a lake is in fact no more than a vast swamp. Even during the rainy season, it's never more than 3 meters deep, and only the smallest craft can navigate it all year round. 3 teams are building a gigantic raft for the Bapiris. This is the final stage and the most important part of the bamboo's journey across Bangladesh towards its ultimate destination.
We take the bundles apart to make a huge raft. The bamboo is destined for the capital, Dakha, but the great raft will only go as far as Baida Bazaar.
At the second meeting point, all the teams are hard at work. The journey to Baida Bazaar takes the caravan westward before it turns south along the river Meghna, which will take it to the outer limits of Dhaka. In theory, the waters are gentler, and the raft captain's decisions are crucial, as he's the one who will decide on the itinerary. He has several options open to him. Depending on the season, the water levels can vary, and there are shortcuts that could save time. Everything now depends on economical gambits. The progress or arrival of preceding rafts, for example, could have caused the market to become saturated and prices to fall. All factors must be taken into account when planning the itinerary. Construction of this final raft lasts 3 to 4 weeks, depending on the number of canes to be delivered. The rainy season is advantageous, as the high waters allow many more canes to be transported, which reduces the cost of transportation and brings down the asking price. So the orders start to roll in, causing the raft to become bigger than anticipated. This causes a problem with the lashings, which may subsequently prove to be too weak if the wind should get up.
The bundles arrive at the lake in packets of 50 to 60 canes, and we build an enormous raft whose floats alone are made up of around 600 canes, in order to send them on to Baida Bazaar. For this we need 10 to 20 workers, as well as a motorboat to tow the raft. A huge raft like this one is made from 20 to 25,000 bamboo canes. We build 1, maybe 2 rafts a month, and we can produce up to 20 in a year. We've been known to dispatch 35, 40, or even 42,000 canes in a single shipment if the demand is high enough.
Building this giant relies on the experience and expertise of the labars. The floats are firmly lashed together and linked by small gangplanks. The raft can be up to 25 meters wide and 100 meters long. The ropes are made from jute. Only these great ropes are resilient enough to carry this cargo, which now weighs several dozen tons. Not so very long ago, the entire operation was reliant on the strength of a mere handful of men, armed only with their poles. The elders tell their stories wistfully. Each journey was an exploit in itself. They struggle to remember if they were actually involved themselves or if they were just spectators. Each voyage could last 6 to 8 weeks and was forever in danger from pirates who would not hesitate to attack the convoys and rob the labars. Some remember the great cyclones which were strong enough to lift the huge vessels and toss them onto the riverbank. These days the voyage is less illustrious. Motorboats have supplanted manpower, and the pirates are a distant memory. But those intrepid enough to complete the journey still have a certain cachet, albeit not enough to convince the youngsters to follow in their footsteps.
At the moment, it's hard to get enough bamboo. There's a shortage of manpower, so there is less wood on the river.
Thanks to a motorboat, the great journey lasts little more than a fortnight. There are no more than 10 labars, and they are mainly there in a supervisory capacity. They build shelters on board, within which they will spend many idle, even boring hours together. The landscape does not change much, and their main focus is the strength of the ties. Only mealtimes break the monotony, and come the evening, the men exchange tales of the rivers and marshes. The peculiarity of Bengali bamboo is that it's only destined for the domestic market, despite the growing popularity of the material throughout the world, especially in the West, where its many qualities are beginning to be recognized. It ages well. It is solid and cheap. It can be used to make furniture, of course, but also flooring and insulation panels. As is often the case, most of the businesses are small family enterprises.
My village is Gobindapur. My ancestors did this job, and it has been handed down from one generation to the next. I've just carried on the work, and that helps me get an income. There are about 100 families plying this trade. I try to make a decent living for my family with my little business making hats and mats. Our children can help out too, but it's hard to make ends meet.
Bangladesh is not as poor as most people think. It is actually around the 60th wealthiest country in the world, and the importance of education is unmistakable. Parents do everything they possibly can to send their children to school, and the best students can end up furthering their education in the big cities. Each year, the government organizes campaigns to promote the importance of education and schooling. Around 30% of the population are illiterate, but this number is falling, which is an initial victory in itself. Over 30 species of bamboo grow in the country. Depending on its variety, it may be used in construction, furniture, or made into paper or small artifacts. Paper factories alone used to consume 40% of the national yield. But with the arrival of jute, this has fallen to 10%, and small producers were the first to be affected.
I find it difficult to afford food and clothing because the cost of living just keeps on rising. At the moment, the price of bamboo is about 200 takas. I can make 4 to 6, maybe 7 mats out of one bamboo cane, and I sometimes subcontract the work out. I buy the bamboo for 200 takas and sell 4 mats for 250 takas. So I give people work for a very low rate of commission.
At the journey's halfway point, the rain begins to fall, and the gigantic raft has had to halt. The first thing to do is to berth and check all the knots. The pilot is very experienced. He knows that if he were to try and sail in this bad weather, he would risk losing his cargo to the waves. Greed is rarely a good advisor, and everyone knows a story of caravans being smashed up because the pilot wanted at all costs to be the first to arrive in Dakha. The golden rule is to take care. Shipwrecks rarely cause any casualties, but any that do are never forgiven.
I've been doing this job for 30 years. I often have problems with the motorboat breaking down. I have to repair it each time before we can set off again. Same problem for 30 years.
The men wait. Sometimes the motivation for these stops is less commendable. The price of bamboo can fluctuate, and the transporters gamble on any potential rising prices. So they slow their journey when prices are low and speed up when it goes back up again, in order to get the best possible price when they get to Dakha. But not on this occasion. The heavy sky does not augur well.
I'm just a simple worker employed by the owner of this raft. He pays us when the job is done, and that's how I'm able to take care of my family and my parents. I always drop anchor at the same place and always close to a market. I get supplies for 10 to 12 people. Each time, I get whatever is available and we all use it. You can't get everything you want, but you can get the essentials. And that's the most important thing before heading to the next port of call.
After a week of sailing in 40-degree heat, the rain is a boon for the workers, refreshing body and spirit. It also guarantees that the water level will remain deep enough for the journey to continue. But at this time of year, the warm waters of the Indian Ocean give rise to cyclones. Bangladesh is often a victim of these cyclones, one of which, the deadly cyclone Sidra of 2007, killed over 4,000 and made millions homeless. Bangladesh is an immense delta where Asia's two greatest rivers, the Brahmaputra and the Ganges, meet. When their waters rise, 20% of the land is flooded. Despite the potentially catastrophic consequences of global warming, the country has decided to embark on a huge program of construction. And as the road network is virtually non-existent, most of the building materials travel by river. One of these is sand, which sometimes comes from very far away. The Bengalis cannot drain the land near the coast because it acts as a natural barrier, so they get their sand from the far north. The developers make use of huge amounts of bamboo and bricks, and a cheap workforce makes river transportation an unbeatable choice. This huge available workforce is a byproduct of chronic unemployment and galloping inflation, as the most desperate have to accept any work they can get. And this is the Bangladeshi paradox. Climatic concerns and its geographical situation prevent it from developing its infrastructure, but it must build at all costs. Things may seem archaic, but technology is slowly making its presence felt here.
These bricks come from Jajira. We bring them here along the Meghna River in order to sell them. We sell most of our stock to property developers and civil engineering. They work alongside national and local government. We buy stock every day or every couple of days, depending on demand. All payments are made by online bank transfer.
Baidyar Bazaar is the final checkpoint. This is where the great rafts end their journey. Thousands of canes are untied, and the bundles are dismantled as and when they are bought in lots by local merchants. In order to reach the capital, they will travel by boat, by truck, and even by rickshaw to their final destination. Motin is concerned. His Sordar has told him that he is still over 100 kilometers away, as the heavy rain which has hit the area has forced him to stop his journey. The stock levels here are falling day by day. Everyone knows that during the rainy season, delayed deliveries are par for the course, But it's starting to look like cyclone weather, and Mutin is worried.
Having transported them here, I drop them off at this place. People use bamboo for construction, repairs, or decorating. And quite a few industries use it too. The thickest canes are used in construction, and the thin ones are used for repairs and decorating. Sometimes we can be out of stock for 3 to 4 days. And then everything goes in no more than a week. We don't dismantle the raft in one go. We remove the rods depending on the exact number of the canes that have been sold. And it's only once we have sold everything that we order the next batch.
In an attempt to avert the damage caused by repeated flooding, the country has taken on the Herculean task of raising the level of roads all across the country. But in the more remote areas, the roads are still narrow, and only small lorries can use them. Baperis, therefore, retain an unwavering faith in river travel. Most of the road network is underdeveloped, and the cost, accentuated by the recent arrival of tolls, is prohibitive. The price of the canes would rise considerably if they had to be transported by truck, and whole sections of the country's economy would feel the effects. The most important of bamboo's many qualities is the fact that it floats. It would be unthinkable to change anything about a system that is already fighting against the odds.
There used to be more bamboo forests, and you could buy a cane for 5 or 6 takas, no more. Now they cost 40 takas. Demand for bamboo has dropped too, because people build their houses from concrete and steel. And the other reason is that there used to be 5 or 6 forests. Now there's only 1. So the price went up, and so producers couldn't make the sort of margins they needed to, meaning there are fewer of them now. And the trade is less profitable too.
To transport from the Sylhet region a quantity equivalent to that transported by this floating caravan would require about 100 trucks. Unthinkable for a country where traffic congestion is already a problem. And as solid as it is, bamboo could not survive such a journey. The few kilometers traveled by road to Dhaka show the evidence of this. These canes are made for sailing. Mutin has finally taken delivery of his load. And this first blow of the dhow to cut the bonds is a little like a release. Tonight, the Baperis will celebrate this latest success and laugh at the rumors of Chinese investment in roads and bridges. Nobody takes those seriously. The Labars will sleep peacefully, safe in the knowledge that their trade has a bright future ahead of it.